Welcome back, explorers. I'm David, that's Wesley, and this is the Trailcast.
The show that gets so far off track, you'll have to stick around to see just where we end up.
So sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip.
That's right, today we're talking about Gilligan's Island. Okay, David. So, just Gilligan's Island is. I wonder how popular of a show it is. Because I know it was like popular in its time, but this is a '60s show we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So, and I think at this point, this moment, I tried to combine moment and point, and it did not work. But at this point in time, the majority of people, if not every single person that listens to this podcast right now, is a family member. So all of them know what Gilligan's Island is because most of the family grew up with Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
But would you like to maybe kind of go off in your own little way, explain what Gilligan's Island is to anyone who at any point in time might listen to this, not sure what Gilligan's Island is?
Well, it's a sitcom about these 7 people who got stranded on a deserted island. So Gilligan is the first mate of the tour boat that they were on, and he's kind of like the main character of the show, which is why it's called Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
So there were these 7 people that went on a tour boat. So there's the skipper and Gilligan, so those are the crew members, and then there were the Howells, so it's a rich. Was he a millionaire or a billionaire?
I think in that time it was a millionaire. They basically were the richest. They were among the richest people in the world, supposedly. They were supposed to be in that high society and all that stuff, which would have been about a millionaire at that point in time.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
$1 million stretched a lot farther at that point.
Yeah. So it was a millionaire and his wife. There was a movie star, Ginger.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was the professor and Marianne.
Mm-hmm.
And
a farm girl who somehow got on this ship as well.
Yeah, it's a very interesting collection of cast.
It works very well for itself, but it is very interesting. That you could, especially the separation between like the Howells and then the rest of them, because it's like, okay, is this just like a regular run-of-the-mill, doesn't cost too much to go on this kind of a tour trip, or is it like something for more rich people and all these other people saved up money to go on the trip, because why would the Howells be on it if it's just a poor person's tour, and if it's a rich person's tour, then it makes a little bit more sense, but
why is everyone else there?
But yeah, what brought them there?
And also, Skipper and Gilligan don't seem like they would be running a high class, and also the Minnow is not a high class ship.
Exactly. When they do the movie, the first movie, Rescue from Gilligan's Island, the ship that they get back, I think, is a little bit more high class, but it's still like a little rinky-dink boat, Yeah.
And see, that's the thing. Like, it makes sense having the Howells and Ginger on the same boat, because
yeah,
Ginger's not rich, but she's
a movie. She's a actress is what I was looking for. Maybe not like a movie star, but she's an actress, so she still is.
So she would fit into that high class kind of society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then pairing like you said, Marianne, a little farm girl from Kansas, and the professor.
The professor may be a little bit more understandable, but Marianne really is the odd one out because the professor could
could be wealthy, but
people like that can make a good amount of money, depending on what they're doing. And the professor seems pretty well rounded with about everything that they face on the island, obviously, because they needed a smart guy.
We'll talk more about that later. Maybe.
But yeah, it does really beg the question, one that I've never ever really thought about a whole lot, of what brought all these people together, For those of you who have not seen the show, go back and watch it. It's a great show. I'm not really sure where you can find it. If nothing else, you can get it from the store. You can pick up little clips on YouTube. You can definitely find if you want to test it out first. But it's a great show. It only has 3 seasons, which is something I guess we'll touch on it, a little bit later in the podcast. But for the start off of the song, it talks about how this was a 3-hour tour. Now, Gilligan's Island, as the name Gilligan's Island, the show Gilligan's Island, may not be that popular, but if you ever look at any other TV show, that takes from the, for a shipwreck, where they get shipwrecked on an island, they take a lot from Gilligan's Island. They do spoofs on Gilligan's Island with how they do it. Like Phineas and Ferb did it one time.
Yeah, it is a very popular
concept.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they kind of took from the idea of
Susan Robinson.
Yeah.
In Phineas and Ferb, but
yeah.
But a lot of TV shows actually when.
And that's kind of where Gilligan's Island gets their inspiration from. Some of their inspiration.
Yeah, but like you said, when you get to a lot of TV shows doing spoof stuff or anytime they do a shipwreck thing, they always throw in 3-hour tour or something like that.
A 3-hour tour. So a 3-hour tour concept may be a more popular concept to anyone who has not seen the show. But yeah, it was a 3-hour tour, and then a big storm broke out, and they ended up getting shipwrecked on this island. Now, this tour came out of Hawaii, and they are shipwrecked somewhere in the islands in the South Pacific, is what is believed. And maybe confirmed, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, basically the whole entire show is about them trying to either survive or get off the island. And you come in with the first episode, which you think about it, the first episode, the pilot episode, has the skipper, Alan Hale, Gilligan, Bob Denver, and the Howells, Jim Backus and Natalie Schaefer.
I think so, yeah.
Those are the only 4 cast members that are the same. The other 3 get switched out after the pilot episode. To Russell Johnson as the professor, Tina Louise as Ginger, and this is not the one I need to forget. Marianne is I know who it is. And I feel bad that I'm forgetting this one. You don't remember?
I don't remember either.
You don't remember? No, I can't. She can't be the one that I forget. Dawn Wells.
Dawn Wells. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I remember that last second. Dawn Wells. The favorite of the bunch.
So, for those of you listening to the podcast, might be kind of confused why we're talking about a show from the 60s. And basically, Wesley and I grew up watching the show.
Well,
I don't remember how old I was when my mom introduced me to the show, but pretty much from when she first did, I pretty much fell in love with the show.
Well, in all honesty, and it's probably the same for you, shows like Gilligan's Island, the Andy Griffith Show, the I Love Lucy, shows like that are probably shows that you and me have watched from so far back that we can't really remember when we first started watching it. The one show that I can vividly remember watching for the very first time, and I don't know why it stands out so far in my mind, but is the A-Team. I remember watching the A-Team for the very first time. My mom was talking to me about it, and she was like, "Oh yeah, there's this show. It's actually on Netflix. It just came up on Netflix. I saw it the other day, and you should watch it." And I was like, she was like, "What?" I was like, "What's it about?" And she was like, "Oh, it has these, She basically gave me the plot, and she's like, "Yeah, it has action and all that stuff. I think you'd like it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I remember it was a snow day, because I remember very vividly me and my sisters went out in the yard and were playing out in the snow. And we came inside, and my mom, I think mom and dad might have already been, I started an episode with it, and they're like, oh, let's take it back so you can, watch the first episode. And so I remember sitting there, and we had, I had changed clothes because everything was wet from playing in the snow, because, the Carolinas it doesn't stay snow for too long. And so was drying off by the fire and sitting there, and I can just remember looking up at the TV and watching the first episode of the A-Team. I don't really remember much else about the rest of that, but it's like for some reason that sticks out very vividly in my mind. But like every other show, I think I've just been watching for so long that I can't remember back that far.
Mm. Now I do actually remember the first time I watched Gilligan's Island.
Oh, you do?
Yes, because I remember my mom had got the DVDs from Walmart. She found the first season at Walmart, and she got it. And I remember her coming home and and talking to me and my brother. And she's like, y'all gotta watch this show. It's really good. And so we watched it. We watched like the first I don't know 3 or 4 episodes that night. And yeah, like I was hooked from then on.
It is a great show. And it is an older show. The first season is in black and white, and then from that season on they go into the color. But I mean, yeah, it's a great show. It's one of those shows like it's not a very popular show, but like it was really good for the time it ran. And I think even in its day, like it was really popular for its day. People would go and watch Gilligan's Island at whatever time it released. That time of the week they go and they sit down for Gilligan's Island. It was one of those shows, primetime shows. But among other reasons, because I know you were talking about it earlier as to why Gilligan's Island got canceled. Among other reasons, there are only so many things you could do on an island.
And well, you're talking about how popular it was. Like, yes, it only ran for 3 seasons, but I think it also got 3 movies.
I have only seen 1 movie, but I've heard that it had a couple other movies. So I think 3 is about what I've heard. There might be some more spin-offs.
I've only seen the first 2 movies. The first one, well, okay, really in my mind the show's like miles ahead of the movies.
Yeah.
But the first movie isn't bad.
No, it's not bad. I think the thing that was the only knock I have on the movie, the movie I've seen, which is Rescue from Gilligan's Island,
the first movie,
the first one they made about it. The only knock that I have on that movie is a lot of it comes down to, so this is a 60s show, and we're watching it in the early 2000s. Now, much of the cast had already passed. Well, not much of the. So Jim Backus, Natalie Schaefer, and Alan Hale had all passed away by the time we were born. In the early 90s. Bob Denver passed away in 2005. So the only surviving cast members were Russell Johnson, Tina Louise, and Don Wells. Now, Tina Louise is the only one that's alive anymore because Don Wells passed away a year or 2 ago. She died in 2020. And then Russell Johnson died in 2012, I think it was. But anyways, so the majority of the cast had already passed away. So that means that a movie that was shot in the I think 70s, right? Was when it was late 70s.
70s or 80s.
It was late, I think at least late 70s.
It was late 70s or early 80s.
Yeah, somewhere in that time period means that the cast was a lot older. And I think that, like, looking at it, it always was like, this should be more attached to the TV show than it is, but it's not because it's been a while since they've shot Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
They're a lot older, and in my own mind, I'm like, I hate to see them like this because, they look so much younger in the other ones, and the plot was fine though. I think it's funny at the end they end up back on the island. Of course,
it was a very Gilligan's It did introduce some weird stuff, but for the most part, the plot of the movie stayed true to that theme of the Gilligan's Island kind of.
And I will say, like, Bob Denver being obviously my favorite character, for Gilligan being my favorite character from that cast. Which is weird that he, I believe, was actually older than both Russell Johnson and Tina Louise. And obviously he's older than Don Wells. So he was the oldest of the younger half of the crew, or a younger half of them all. Which is weird because he looks like him and Mary Ann are going to be the youngest of the 2. but he was at least like 30 or so when they shot Gilligan's Island.
Yeah. It's like he looks like he's about the same age as Marianne,
Mm-hmm.
and then the others look like they're
Look like a little bit
older.
older. Which is another reason why, like, watching the movie is like, oh, look, he looks a lot older, and everything just looks different, and like, there's the nostalgia aspect is like, I still like it.
They're all going gray.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, talking about the movie and stuff and how it like ends up like with them back on the island.
Mm-hmm. So the one aspect though about the movies that I really did like was at the very end of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're all washed up on shore, and Gilligan gets up and he runs off into the woods, into the brush or whatever. He comes back with like a piece of driftwood or sign or something that basically signifies that they're back on the same exact island, which, like you said before, is very Gilligan's Island-esque. But the words that are the key to all this is he says, "We're home." He's like, "Why are y'all all so down about it?" It's like, we're home. We're back home. Because they had spent, presumably at least, because I know the movie takes place a couple years after the ending of Gilligan's Island, but at least 3 years if you say each season was a year. They have spent a large amount of time on this island, and even touched on in the movies, getting back into society is extremely hard, and they more or less, for lack of a better way of saying it, miss being on the island, despite them not wanting to admit it. But they came here and they're shipwrecked on an island, and the whole entire TV show is about them trying to get off the island, but is that really what they want?
But talking about how like they're always trying to get off the island, I find it funny how they're constantly trying to get off the island, yet there are so many people that come to the island and leave.
Yes, it is hilarious how many, and like obviously they have their own reasons as to why, but it's like it's funny that also so many people decide, like there's one episode with like a criminal that actually comes to the island. I think there might be 1 or 2 episodes like that. But for as many people who came to the island that did go back to the mainland and did not say anything, they need to go to jail. Like, that's not right. I don't know what laws you're technically breaking, but that's just not right. Like, I remember the one guy who came on the island. I don't remember what his name was, but the guy came on the island looking for the butterfly.
Basically, Dave Danger.
Yeah. Is that where you got your inspiration from?
No, but I'm
You're thinking about it?
It's basically Dave Danger.
Anyway, so the guy comes on the island and he's looking for a rare butterfly, and he goes on the island and he finally stumbles across the castaways, and he's like, I will signal for my boat or whatever that's to come pick me up as soon as we find the butterfly I'm looking for, and y'all are all going to help me find it. And so they go through a bunch of different things. They even go through a point where they take a white moth and they paint it, and then as soon as the professor's like, that's never going to work, like someone of his name and renown is never going to be fooled by that. He comes in, he gets fooled, and then it starts raining outside. He walks outside, and then he comes back and he's like, well, it looks like your butterfly turned into a white moth or something like that. And it's like, so their attempts fail at that. But it always turns out that like there's some reason. So the guy goes back to the island after trying to, how's it end? So they tried to get him drunk. To get his like flare gun or whatever. Yeah. And in the process, he's a British guy, so I guess they're insinuating that the British can hold down more than, or at least he can hold down more than the rest of the castaways, which I think the only one that could probably compete with him would be the skipper. Gilligan's too much of a lightweight, the girls and then the Howells probably aren't into all that, and the professor probably doesn't drink at all, so, but anyways,
Skipper was a sailor and a Navy man. So
anyways, but they all they all pass out. They end up sleeping for like, I think at the end of it they said like 2 or 3 days. So anyways, they hear a radio broadcast, which is funny how the radio is always tuned into the good news of what they need to hear. But it goes back and he's like, I'm going to the Arctic now to find something. My tales of the South Pacific will have to wait for another day. And it's like they're just stranded on the island.
He couldn't have spent like
3 seconds. Hey, people on an island, go back.
Yeah, and it's also like talking about most of the people who go to the island
Hmm.
aren't necessarily like good people.
Yeah. I mean, there's even the one with what's his name? He comes to the island and he ends up hunting Gilligan.
Yeah, I was thinking about what is Mr. Kincaid or something like
Kincaid. Yeah, yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah,
what it is.
but remember when he goes back to the mainland, like he like has a mental break and just snaps.
Yeah.
Because remember he's yeah. Even when Mr. Kincaid went back to the United States, you know, he was in the like hunting competition or whatever. And
Yeah.
he had the mental break and snapped, and it was like just kept repeating
The words Gilligan. Yeah.
Because of the guilt from trying to hunt and kill
Yeah.
him.
You know, so it was one of the commentaries, and I wanted to mention this a minute ago, but it wasn't. It did get around to it. But like in one of the commentaries, they talked about how on the show they wanted to make sure it was very kid friendly, and how they didn't want to really bring in a whole lot of like, I guess, adult content. Being the things that they mentioned with all that was, like alcohol and smoking. So obviously, like some of the characters on there have like cigars, you know, occasionally, you know, and that's like different than smoking. So they got rid of the smoking element with that. But if you think about the alcohol part of it, think about how many people, especially with the one I was talking about with the butterfly man, like they tried to essentially drug him because they brewed up their own concoction, right, for to get him drunk. There's the one time where where the Russians come,
Cosmonauts, yeah.
and they get them drunk off of the vodka, you know. And like I'm pretty sure they do this a couple other times. Like they introduce like drinking and stuff like that. And it's like I don't have a problem with it because it's funny. It's funny for the show, but it's like I very vividly remember that. Like I think it's one of the commentaries from like one of the first. It must be the first episode or whatever that Sherwood Schwartz is talking over or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he mentioned that, and I'm like, yeah, but what about all these episodes over here? You use it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the one of the Russian cosmonauts, that's probably one of my favorite episodes, just because it's so funny. But I just like the fact that they brought again, putting this into context, the show was made in the middle of the Cold War,
Yeah.
so it was almost propaganda.
Yeah.
With the anti-Russian kind of thing, but I just like how like the stereotype of the Russians loving vodka, because these Russian cosmonauts literally took bottles of vodka into space with them.
Yeah, I was say they splashed down near the island, but before that they were on a space mission, which is one aspect that I've never actually really thought too much about. But yeah, they took it on this is a business trip, like this is space.
But also sending stuff into space. Every ounce of weight matters.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be sending alcohol into space with your cosmonauts.
They're the Russians. They love vodka.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm telling you, we really need to watch how much we talk about Russians on this and in our YouTube channel, because we've done a dangerously large amount of it with Igor, and now this. We've mentioned Russia too many times.
Let's not get into that too much.
Yeah, let's just forget about that for a second. Okay.
But yeah, like I said, I still think it's so funny, like how there's also the oh man, what I'm trying to remember the whole episode, but isn't there the one with like the haunted castle or whatever?
Oh yeah, so basically, I don't necessarily know why this guy came over, but this at the beginning of the episode it starts out and a guy pulls up in a boat when he has like a monkey. Now there's 2 episodes with it. I don't remember because there's the one with the rings where he puts on the rings that he can make the people do whatever, like mind control basically.
Yeah.
And so it kind of sows discord amongst the people. I think this is the second time that this character comes back. Based on like evil doctor scientist or whatever. I don't really know what he is.
Right. He comes back and takes them to his island.
To his island,
yeah.
Which is a haunted, basically a haunted castle, like you were saying. And what he does with it is he switches the cast members so that like like their brain is now in the other person's
Yeah,
body, so
yeah.
now they're talking. The voices are switched up and everything. And then there's even so this guy has his basically like his muscle, and it. He's I know he's in the Bullwick Griffin movie. He's probably a more famous actor from that time period. I don't know what his name is, but anyways, he's in it, and he ends up getting switched with someone else. I forget who
I think
it
it's
is.
Ginger.
I think it's his Ginger.
Yeah.
But he's even a part of all this experimental stuff, and so he ends up like helping them with getting them out of there
And don't they end up
beating up the guy.
don't they end up putting the like scientist and his henchman in like a dog or something? Or
Yeah, I think a
dog
cat and a dog or something like that. At the end of it all, yeah. But it's funny. It was obviously a very strange episode for the show, but like,
Well, okay.
but it's not even misplaced. In all honesty, like it's just
I mean, like you say, the strange episode, but yeah, it's not really misplaced because like even in season 3, they have an episode with vampire. Well, okay,
yeah.
it's a dream that Gilligan has.
I was
but
like,
still,
the dream sequences are very
Yes.
were very well done, because like you think about it, there is only so much you can do on an island, but if you take the imagination of Gilligan, which is all over the place, you can do a lot of things. So they have like an episode where it's a western. That was one of my more favorite ones, where Gilligan's in a western.
Yeah.
There's one where Gilligan's he's on a ship and he's getting robbed by pirates. Obviously they use the whole entire cast for the different roles. There's one where Gilligan is a dictator. Which that one's that one's a very interesting episode too. Look. Not at me out the window. There are some aspects of the show that's like, this is supposed to be a kids show, but wait a minute. Anyway, so you got that one. You got the one you were talking about with the vampire one, which I like that one too. That one's a funny one.
Yeah.
I think.
I think that one's like one of the like early season 3 episodes. But yeah, there's a lot throughout the series of the dream sequences.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. There are.
There's one with the spy, where he's a spy.
That's right.
And he dies from a chrysanthemum. Wait, how do you pronounce it? Chrysanthemum. You know how to pronounce it?
Wait.
A flower.
Chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum. I don't know what it's. She poisoned me with the a flower. I wonder how his brain came up with that idea. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I feel like that episode's kind of almost like a. I don't actually know which show was first, but that dream sequence reminds me of Get Smart. I don't know if it was a spoof of Get Smart or Get Smart came up.
I know Get Smart was a '60s show.
Look up, see what it is. Because like I said, that episode is very reminiscent of Get Smart.
Get Smart was 65 to 77.
Okay, so there was some overlap.
The show Gilligan's Island started before Get Smart, but that episode would have taken place after Get Smart was
Okay, so there was some overlap. So it might have been a spoof of Get Smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, that was a very good episode.
It was a good episode. But so the start off of that episode was that a briefcase washed up on shore,
right?
Which is a lot of the times what sparks the either conflict or just basically gets the ball rolling for a lot of the episodes. One of which is where they get superpowers from radioactive vegetables. Talking about the randomness of this show, they get actual superpowers from the randomness of this show.
Yes.
Oh no! Wait. That was not a sentence. They get actual superpowers
from vegetables.
Well, they do get it from the randomness of the show, but they get it from vegetables that are radioactive. And that's something like they catch a lot of things. There's one episode, where they do like a murder mystery one, and it's because they get a crate washed up on shore, and it has newspapers talking about the death of this guy that apparently all of them knew, and the Robert Blake. Remember that one?
Right. Yeah.
And so they go and they reenact it all, and Gilligan is the only one who I think doesn't necessarily know him or had any beef with him, and he ends up playing the character of Robert Blake in the reenactment, and then he almost gets shot. But that was, they figure out how it all works, and then they hear at the end of the episode how the police reenacted it and figured it out. But Gilligan's still convinced it's the butler, or the upstairs maid, or the downstairs maid.
But again, why do, like, a millionaire couple, a captain of a little rinky-dink boat, a movie star, a farm girl from Kansas, and a professor, why do they all know the same person? Like,
yeah. Well, you think about it. So, wasn't Robert Blake supposed to be working in a store that... So, Mary Ann dated him, right? He somehow worked for the Howells. He stole a research paper from the professor, and what was it? He didn't give Mary Ann's father, like the medicine he needed or something like that, right? I don't remember what it was for her.
Something like that. Or Ginger.
Ginger, she dated Ginger.
That's right, yeah. Or dated Mary Ann.
It was like,
yeah.
What? How does this all happen?
It's just like that episode of Community where, Abed figures out, like, they all, like, decided to go to Greendale on the same day. They all, like, cross paths.
I'm not gonna lie, that seems more probable than this.
Yes, it does, but it's the same kind of thing.
It's the same thing. I mean, okay, there's a certain element of it. It's just a TV show, and that is the thing that you need to look at the most of it all, is we're just watching a TV show, and it's supposed to be there to entertain. There's honestly, when they were writing the show, I don't think that there was any other lore to it. They were just writing a TV show for it, Mm-hmm. But, doesn't mean we can't ask the questions. We're going to ask them anyways, obviously. I mean, why wouldn't we?
But it's just... I love that show, though. It's so random,
mm-hmm.
and, like...
Yeah.
It's so goofy, it's so random. It's just...
You think about it, like... They really did do a lot with the kind of... So, like, talking about the randomness of the show, like... There are, like, three aspects of what happens, or no, I guess two aspects of what happens on the island. So either someone shows up, or something washes up, and it sparks all the rest of the episode for it.
Mm.
They do a lot of the something washing up on shore.
They might also hear something on the radio too.
That's true. There are sometimes they'll hear some. Like, there's one episode where Ginger hears something on the radio. No, I'm thinking of something else. I was going to say the episode where they do the play, but the play is where Herod Hecuba comes to the island. Mm. Isn't there one, though, where they hear about Ginger on the radio and, like, something about... No, I'm combining the two episodes.
Well, and there's also
the one about Horace Hickenbacker, where Mary Ann is dating some guy, and then you get into the mushrooms! The poison mushrooms! Oh no!
Right, but there's also the one like where the Howells
go broke.
The one that got broke. The one where they think they're not married.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's several like that. But
so that's three aspects of the show: radio, washed up, or person comes to the island.
Yeah.
And they also come into contact with a lot of the headhunters in the area, which there's one episode specific, because usually it's like one or two headhunters, maybe a group of headhunters come to the island or whatever. There's that one where the family comes looking for a husband for their daughter, and Lucky Gilligan. And then there's one, I don't remember all the details of the episode, but they show a clip basically. So one where the island gets overrun by the headhunters, and each of them gets taken. But at the end of they're starting the band or whatever, right? That's what it is. And but anyways, when that at some point in that episode, they show like, and it's like just a bunch of people like rushing.
That's the one where Gilligan finds the drum, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see all these people rush. So like basically this whole entire like tribe or island full of these headhunters or whatever on an island, rushing to them, and it's like, This was in the '60s, and I don't know necessarily. Like, I mean, I know there's still people out there who have not like who aren't up in the modern times, and that's how they
Mm.
choose to live their life. And there's no judgment to any of that. But it's like and it might be more abundant in that time period. But it's like all these islands surrounding them, more than likely, are probably inhabited. It's like they're on the one island that does not have anybody on it, and lucky enough to not have anybody on it because they would have gotten, killed.
Mm.
Surprising that they haven't gotten killed yet because they've had so many encounters.
I just remember there's that one episode with with the one headhunter that comes to the island.
Yeah.
And I remember Gilligan thinks he's
Skipper.
Yeah, Gilligan thinks it's Skipper, and like thinks it's like a trick to make him more brave.
I was gonna say because the reason
that episode, I remember that episode is one that they actually filmed in season 1 in black and white. Then they actually redid in season 3. It's like you can go in season 1 and season 3. It's the same episode, just one's black and white, one's color. The exact
they
same.
released
episode.
it.
Yeah, it's actually an episode in season 3.
I think I remember it in the
because I remember watching it in season 3. I'm like, I remember this episode.
Well, see,
but I remember in black and white.
The weird thing is like, so with that show, because the first season's in black and white and the second season's in color, a lot of times, like for what I remember at least of the black and white version, is like, well, I've seen it in color, so I know what it's supposed to look like. And sometimes, like memories, I might implement color into it. So I mean, I've watched through the whole entire series multiple times, so I have to have seen this episode. I just don't remember that. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember. But talking about that episode, the reason that they were trying to make him more brave is because supposedly Gilligan had been seeing the headhunter. It wasn't like, no one else had seen him, but Gilligan had. And they're like, okay, now we need to figure out how to make Gilligan seem more brave because there was something else going on. There's a B plot to it all. And then they're like, well, Gilligan thinks that he's, seen a headhunter.
And the rest of them convince Gilligan that he hears it in his head.
Yeah, exactly.
So when he sees the headhunter again, he thinks it's Skipper.
Yeah. Well, he'd actually overheard their plot too to for Skipper to be the, and so he does that, ends up fighting off the headhunter, and then Skipper comes out. And he's like, "Hey, Skipper, you changed," and he was like, "What?" And they're like, "That means that was a," he just faints or whatever.
Actually, that's actually kind of a thing too. So, talking about Gilligan, with some of the stuff I've written for Down the Rabbit Trail, our character Steven that you play, I actually have pulled some stuff, like, Gilligan was kind of an inspiration for some stuff that I've written for Steven.
That would be a good thing. I think you might have told me that before, but with that in mind, I need to start playing it more like Gilligan then. Because,
maybe we do need to have something more with him. Because, like I said, I really like that character because he's so goofy.
Yeah.
And I think leaning into that more Gilligan-esque character would work for him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. He is a very, very goofy character. And if you think about it, like aspects of what we've released and then what we've shot, not released quite yet, do really pull from things that you do see in the TV show Gilligan's Island, like with the character. I don't necessarily come across the same way that Gilligan does. No, but then again, I wasn't in my own mind trying to be that. So,
but I'm just saying like some things I've pulled like inspiration from Gilligan with that character.
Yeah.
But anyway,
promo. Go watch Down the Rabbit Trail.
Yes, go watch Down the Rabbit Trail. But anyway, pulling it back to Gilligan's Island.
Really? I didn't know that. That's the more you know. The more you know. Did you know?
My mind just went blank.
Well, since your mind went blank, I've been actually thinking about a time to mention this. Did you know? And I'm sure you did because you know probably as much as I do about Gilligan's Island. I don't know if I'd say more. You might know more. You probably know different things than I do. Anyways, did you know that the lake, the lagoon that they were in, was just like a couple feet? So whenever they, obviously had to go down, they had to, like, submerge themselves. They were just, like, basically walking, like, in the trick, where it's like, I'm going downstairs, and you walk behind something, and you just kind of crouch down. That's essentially what they had to do in that. Today, it's a parking lot. I don't know where. I don't know what parking lot. Or
But
at one point in time, it was a parking lot. I don't know if it's still today a parking
but yeah,
lot.
it's a set. It's
Yeah.
not it's
Yeah.
like almost any one of those scenes you can look in the background and see that it's like there are like plants and stuff, but then
Mhm.
it just comes basically to a painting.
Yeah.
Like the
The depth.
especially in the lagoon scenes,
Mhm.
you can see the
Yeah.
background.
Mm.
But yeah,
Which okay, so starting off the show in the first season, they did have an ocean front side that they used.
mm,
And then after that, anytime they had to deal with water, it would always come to the lagoon.
mm,
Because I think the boat was shipwrecked on one other side of the island. Now, when they come back and return to Gilligan's Island, they wash up on the lagoon side.
yeah,
So I wonder if they just got rid of the whole entire. That wasn't just in the pilot episode because I remember that one episode where they were using the things and then they have the cave where they come up with the trap idea,
mm,
and then it ends up where Gilligan goes in there and trips and then they all get stuck in the cave
yeah.
or stuck. They're not really stuck in
But
there.
um,
I'm
yeah,
explaining things that people who have never seen this episode or seen this show, or even people who have seen this show, may not know what we're talking about. 'Cause
yeah,
let's be honest here. As much as neither one of us probably want to admit it, we have a little bit of a telepathic link here. So if I'm thinking of something, you'll probably be thinking about it sooner or later.
and you can describe it in the
Yeah.
vaguest way possible, and I will get what
you know those games where you have like to guess something or whatever.
Mhm.
Have we ever played? Like, if we ever play this one, I think we should probably pair up because we'd be really good at that. I don't know if we ever played that before.
It's scary, but yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
It's almost like how twins can
Yeah.
do that, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, talking about the beach scene from the Gilligan's Island thing in season 1.
Mhm.
I think the last time they used that was the episode where the pancake episode. Because remember they used it trying to fix the boat, and then the boat falls apart.
Yes.
That was one of the last episodes in season 1.
And it might have to do with the fact that they no longer had the boat as a prop anymore
Mm.
because the boat was gone.
Yeah. Because they had it fall apart on screen.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I do remember that. Honestly, like some of the season 1 stuff is stuff that I haven't seen in a very. I haven't watched much of Gilligan's Island recently. Anyways, that's mostly because I don't have anything to watch it on.
Mhm.
I need to find I need to go out and buy the discs, or I need to.
Yeah, I
Get it or
actually
whatever.
recently bought them from Walmart because I found them at Walmart.
Because right now I'm wanting to watch some Gilligan's Island.
Like I said, you can get the DVD, the box set of the DVDs, the complete series at Walmart. I think for like $40 or something like that.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and you can probably find it on Amazon too if you don't want to go to the store.
Yeah. I'm very much not a store person. I'm big on staying home.
Mhm.
I'm an antisocial person. I don't know if that comes across on my. I'll tell people this. When like, so when I go out and I meet new people, like I work with new people, whatever. Usually my first thing is like they'll be like, oh, you're quiet, or you're like to yourself or whatever, because that's the way that I usually am. And I was like, yeah, if you ever told my family that I was quiet, they'd laugh and probably tell you that you like met the wrong person or whatever. Because yeah, most of the family doesn't think I'm quiet. I'm pretty loud around the family. I'm pretty outgoing. But that's the thing. I'm different around people that I like and that I know than I am around most people. I'm a very introverted, very to myself kind of person. I don't like going out in public. I don't like talking to people. Like, I could stay home for the rest of my life, or stay away from people for the rest of my life, and be perfectly fine.
And see, I'm kind of the same way. Now, I due to necessity from having worked in retail and worked in sales,
Mm-hmm.
I can turn it on and off.
I would say work stuff isn't as bad,
But for the most part, if I'm in public, don't talk to me. Don't like.
Well, I will say
maybe
also,
maybe not that much, but like I'm not very outgoing with people that I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, oh yeah, I'll talk to people.
Talking about work with that though, it's like, it's a little bit different because, like, at least with my experience with anything I've done where I've had to talk to people I don't know with work, it's always like I have a topic I can talk with them about. Even if I bring up like small talk with it, there's usually some kind of a topic, and it's not like awkward or weird or whatever. Whereas like in public, it's usually a lot more on the awkward side of things.
Mm.
You know, I mean, I brought small talk up before. Like if I'm ever getting checked out before, I've been like just little banter back and forth with the
Well,
whoever's checking me out. But like usually I'm like, get this done, let's get out of here, or
well,
self
and you
checkout.
see, generally it's at checkout lines. Generally, I'll I'm friendly and stuff. But I'm not going to go out of my way and have small talk with the cashier.
Yeah.
But if they start talking,
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk back to them. Just do
Yeah.
this, well, it's just like I actually had so I was at the store the other day
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even remember what I was getting, but the cashier was ringing me out and she asked how my day was and I said, oh, I'm doing okay. I asked her how her day was, which that's one thing from having worked retail. Most people don't respond with that too. Like
Yeah.
most people will just say,
Yeah,
oh,
I'm
I'm
good.
good,
Yeah.
and just leave it at that. But I asked her how her day was, and she was like, you don't want to hear about it anyway. And I was like, okay, fair enough.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's been very rough, but I'm not going to tell you that, and you want to get out of here as quick as possible, so I'm not going to say anything.
She basically called me out on the fact that like I'm asking, but I really don't care.
Yeah,
Which I mean, okay,
that's fair.
Yeah.
Most people don't. Like,
I mean, I like I said, making small talk with that, I will be polite and,
Mhm.
and like just ask that kind of stuff, but yeah, in all honesty, I'm probably going to forget about this conversation.
Yeah, I was about to say.
In like as soon as I walk out the door.
Yeah.
So
it I don't know. It's like, at what point is are you being nice, or are you just being stereotypical? I guess it doesn't matter because you're gonna ask it anyways because
Mhm.
it's the nice thing to do. But yeah, I mean, I'm not rude to anyone, but sometimes I wish I was. I wish I could be that kind of person, just like doesn't care at all about anything and just goes does what I need to do, and then just like can, because there's certain people who just like come up to you and they're just like they're basically trying to talk to you, and you're like, I don't want to do this, but you want to be nice, so you're not going to sit here and say, shut up, I don't want to talk to you.
and on that note, I've had people like at work and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
who I work with, basically just kind of do that,
Mm-hmm.
and some people like I think it's a good idea to have like people at work that you're friends with.
Yeah.
Just it helps pass time, but then there's some people that it's just like
They're just coworkers.
yeah,
They just work there too.
and I've had coworkers do it before. They'll talk to me, and I'll be polite. I'll talk to them back, but they think that means that I'm starting to think of them as a friend. I'm like, nope, I don't.
There are
Nope.
so, because the thing is like, so your friends at work are the ones that you can tell them to get lost and get out of here because you're friends with them, but they're the ones that you want to stick around and keep talking to. And then the people that you can't tell that to are the ones you want to tell it to, but like, yeah, you have to sit around and those make the most awkward conversations at work. There's people that I've worked with and they're just like, they're weird, and you're just sitting there like, what are we talking about here? Can I leave? No, I have to stay right here. I can't go anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
It's bad.
Okay.
How do we get from Gilligan's Island to here?
How did we get from Gilligan's Island to this?
Down the rabbit trail, y'all. All right. So I think we should start wrapping up on the idea of Gilligan's Island, but just to make sure that we actually end on that note, let's hop back into Gilligan's Island for one last hurrah. I do really want to watch that again. Like it's been a while since I've seen the show. Honestly, it's probably been years since I've watched this show. I remember it very vividly because
I've watched it on MeTV a couple times.
It's been so ingrained in my head.
Yeah.
Like before The Office, that was the show that I would binge watch all summer long on repeat over and over and over. Like I've mentioned this to you before, but like my parents' discs, some of them don't work anymore because I've used them up so much. Actually, I don't even know if any. I know. So season 3 had the Spy Gilligan, where there's 2 Gilligans, and it had. Oh, there's another episode that I really liked on that one. Oh, the one where they eat the seeds that give them mind powers.
Right. Yeah.
where they can have telepathy.
Right.
Had both of those episodes. I think they're either back to back or they're on the same disc. That disc no longer works because I love those two episodes and the episodes around it so much. No longer works. And then there's a couple other ones that I used mostly in season 2 and season 3. Season 3, I think, was the ones that I had burned out the most for some reason.
But you probably got to this point too with Gilligan's Island. But I got to the point where I could watch it,
Mhm.
like have it on in the background, and I could listen to it and know exactly what's going on screen.
Yes.
And I could even like maybe the first scene,
Mhm.
like the opening scene. I could tell you exactly the plot, exactly what the episode
everything
is,
about it.
everything about it. Yeah.
Yeah, like the first, because the thing, the tune, the music that they played and the shot that they used across the lagoon or whatever it was would tell you, because each one was different, each episode was different, and it would tell you what the episode was about, and you could tell within the first couple seconds after the intro had played what the episode was. It was not hard. I mean, for someone like you and me, you would watch it like a billion times.
Yeah, but I could probably also, like, at one point, I probably could have watched the show when it was muted and
word for word told you what it was.
Like repeated the dialogue back.
Yeah.
To, I don't think I could do that now. But
no, it's been too long.
At one point, like I said, I could.
I think with those like memories though in mind, we could probably watch through the show once or twice and be pretty much back on track with it all.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I mean, like we both said, we have watched this show since we were very young and have watched it on repeat since we were very young. So, I mean, some of the longer shows like I Love Lucy and Andy Griffith, I don't know it as well because there's more to it, but like I could probably, like I know most of the show. Like I've seen all the episodes, stuff like that, and they're longer shows. So like a thing that only has like what each season only had maybe 20-ish episodes, and then 3 seasons. That's only like 60 episodes for a TV show to watch. Like, it's not that much.
Yeah, but well, on the note of Andy Griffith, I've watched all the black and white ones like tons of times, but
Don Knotts leaves before it turns to color, right?
I think he leaves in the last black and white season.
Okay, yeah. So let's say I remember Warren is his name, right?
Yeah.
I remember him in more color, but I never watched a whole lot of that.
No, I never watched it either, but the black and white ones were good.
What did he leave for?
Don Knotts he was doing movies or something. I don't know.
Wasn't there some kind of a contract dispute though? Or no. Wasn't it where his contract ran up after whatever that last season was, and they had planned on, I think, the show only running for that long, and then they said, "Oh no, we're going to go a little bit longer." But he had already signed on for another deal. I think is what it. I don't know. It's been a very long time, and I don't even know why I would know that or where I know it from. But random little bits of information stick with me, and some things just that are important never come back.
But we probably should be wrapping up on the topic of Gilligan's Island. Do you have any final words about Gilligan's Island?
It's amazing. Watch it.
Yeah, go watch the show.
It's better than The Office. In some aspects.
Yeah, in some aspects.
So, depends on what kind of humor you like.
I don't know if I could really rank it as better than any other show, but it's definitely a really good show. You should watch it.
I don't really know how to rank shows as better because it obviously has like the most nostalgia.
Yeah.
That's a big aspect of it all, but I don't know. Yeah, those are my final thoughts. It's a great show. You should watch it if you have not. And if you have seen it, watch it again. It's still a great show.
Yeah, but as for that, that's pretty much all we got for Gilligan's Island, and on to the next segment. What's new with you?
So, David, I really need to know what's new with you because it's been so long since I've seen you, since last Friday.
Yeah,
this is a Tuesday.
Yeah, we're recording this on Tuesday, so we haven't seen each other since Friday.
It's been a whole weekend, David. I need to know what's going on.
Okay, well,
Is anything new?
So, as far as like what I've been watching, I really haven't been playing anything new or whatever, but I've been watching. Your sister actually introduced me to this, Katie.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So on Netflix is a show called Shadow and Bone.
Amazing show.
Yeah, she introduced me to that.
Season 2 is coming out. It starts today, right? Or is it Thursday? It's Thursday.
Yeah. Well, so it'll be out by the time this podcast.
Oh yeah, it would definitely be out. But as of this time, I was trying to clarify when it was
You're
coming
kind
out.
of dating us here, but
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so I've been watching through season one, and yeah, that's a good
We
show.
we have a lot of stuff going on in our lives aside from the YouTube channel, aside from putting out consistent content on a YouTube channel. So having a backlog is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and that's where y'all come in. Make this a full time thing. All right, enough advertising there. No, Shadow and Bones is a really good show. We actually got Sunday. Katie came over because we had some stuff we had to do around the house. Me and Sarah did, and Sarah hasn't seen it. So me and Katie watched it about a year ago when it first came out or so.
Okay.
Because Katie had read the books, I think, or someone at work gave her the books. She read the books and started watching the TV show, and she was like, I know you won't read the books, but I have a TV show I want you to watch. And I was like, all right, cool. So we started watching through the TV show, and it was amazing. It's really good, and I'm excited to see season 2. But we needed to get you and Sarah both on board to watch it.
I haven't finished season 1 yet, but like from what I've seen so far, it's been really good.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna mention a couple spoilers, so if you plan on watching the show or whatever, you can tune out now. But
spoiler alert for Shadow and Bone.
yeah, for season 1. But so we just last episode I watched was the one where they revealed that the general guy was actually
Ben Barnes.
his character was actually the dark character who created the fold to begin with.
Yeah.
And
Did you see it coming?
So okay, I didn't trust him, but I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, he's this ancient being that's the reason for all the chaos, and which again makes it like so. More spoilers for the show. Obviously, you should be gone by now. But anyways, so his his reasoning for wanting whatever her name is, the Sun Summoner, is because he wants to, with her, basically end up ruling the whole, because she's going to be the most one of the more powerful ones she's supposed to be able to take down this fold, and it's like, all right, let me use her to my advantage because she's supposed to destroy what I'm doing, but I'm going to get her to my side and then she can help me with what I'm doing. And Ben Barnes, like, I haven't seen him in really anything until this, since Prince Caspian, and I don't know what he's been doing since then. But he does a really good job. Like, he's a really good. Katie and Sarah both were both what's the word? Gawking over him when we were watching it. I can't say I wasn't either, but I'm just saying that they were. But I mean, he does a really good job because, like, in it, like, obviously he's trying to go about gaining the trust of the audience as best he can, and then her more so in the actual realm of the show. And and you're watching the show and you're like, she's got this guy over here that really likes her and that truly loves her over here, but then there's this hot new guy. So who's she supposed to go with? And obviously, the one's a bad guy, so that probably makes him more appealing because girls like them bad boys.
Is that what I've been doing wrong?
I think it is. You need to do some bad stuff, David. Speaking of bad guys, whatever, Kaz, the only character in the show that I know the name for, but he's great. The leader of the Crows or whatever. Yeah. Him, I love just his demeanor. Like, it's so commanding. Like, he's like, I may not know what I'm doing. I may not. He has a cane. He walks with a limp, but like, he's like, he always comes across as, I have a plan. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm 3 steps ahead of you, even though you think you got me. And
even the most of the time, he doesn't have a plan.
Exactly. He goes off on a whim or whatever.
He's winging everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously his side guy Casper. I remember another guy. Casper's hilarious. I think he's pretty funny and all that too. He's more the comic relief as well as like a bodyguard guy, but he's funny. I probably honestly like their side plot more than I do the main plot. Like, when watching through the show, obviously it all comes together. But like watching it, I'm more entertained by their B plot to the story than I am the main plot of like the shadow guy being like it's cool and all, but there's not a whole lot. It's more exposition going on over there with them,
Yeah.
whereas there's more like engaging stuff going on when
Hmm.
you're watching through the their plot over there.
Yeah. So I take it you haven't really been watching anything since Friday.
I don't know if I've
Nothing
watched.
new.
I don't know if I've watched. Let's see. We haven't watched Parks and Rec in a while. I've been watching Family Guy, and that's like my background. I get home from work late and watch that because I'm tired, kind of a show. And then I watch YouTube. So like I haven't watched much of anything new since then. Let's see. We talked on Friday, and Wednesday would have been when anything new Star Wars related can't come out. So I haven't gotten around to watching any new Star Wars stuff because there's
Yeah.
nothing new to watch. I haven't gotten into Andor. It's too slow.
Mm.
I
'Cause
can't.
keep hearing
Have you watched through Andor?
No, actually, I haven't. Because I keep hearing people talking about how good it is, but I'm just like, it's so slow starting out.
I know. It's like okay, Rogue one of the best Star Wars movies out there.
Yeah.
And I might actually want to go. I've been trying to get Sarah. So we talked about this. We had the well, not the debate. No. I don't really know how to put this into words. Sarah doesn't know what an Ewok is.
Not Ewok. You said Jawa.
Sarah doesn't know what a Jawa is, and I don't know what the conversation was about. Okay, so Sarah did, the other day, I don't remember what we were talking about. Somehow the topic of a Jawa came up, and Sarah was like, "I don't know what that is," and I was like, "You don't know what a Jawa is?" And so yeah. So things happen, and I was like, "Well, we need to watch Star Wars," and so I'm trying to. I told her, I said, "So what we need to do is we need to." She was like, "Well, how should we watch them? Because we've done this before. Like we watched through the main 6 movies." And I think when we did that, we watched through the original trilogy first, and then we went back and watched the prequels,
So the order they're released on
the more they're released. I was like, all right, so here's what we need to do: we need to watch A Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Clone Wars,
That's a lot.
all of them, the old 2D Clone Wars, which I was actually wondering about that. I was looking at, is that canonized anymore? It doesn't really have any like. It takes place right before Episode 3, and it doesn't have any like contradictions. So, is it technically canonized?
I don't think it is because that's supposed to be like when they introduced Grievous, and Grievous was introduced, also in the
Mhm.
the cartoon.
Well, if you also look at it, that span, like it takes place over a large span of time.
Mhm.
So, like they even have the transformation of Anakin from what Episode 2 Anakin looked like to Episode 3
Yeah.
Anakin.
But I don't think it's technically canon anymore, even though I still love it because
I was watching through it the other day.
also the thing about,
That's what I've watched new. I've been watching through the 2D Anakin.
also the thing about
2D
that
animated.
talking about Grievous in that
Mm-hmm.
and I know we've already done a full episode of Star Wars and we're talking Star Wars again, but
It's gonna
whatever,
happen.
whatever. But talking about Grievous in that 2D animated Clone Wars,
Mm-hmm.
Grievous is honestly terrifying in that.
Yeah.
Like I love that version of Grievous because it's like the in Clone Wars and in Revenge of the Sith, they turn him into this like plotting, scheming mastermind or whatever.
Yeah.
No, I like the aspect of him being like almost like a horror monster.
He's a machine meant to kill. That's what he's meant for.
I would have loved imagine the Utapau fight
Mm-hmm.
if like Grievous had lured Obi-Wan into some like wreckage of a ship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Made it more horror-esque.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. I mean, I know it would maybe not would have necessarily fit with the Star Wars theme,
Yeah.
but that would have been a really cool scene.
Now, you think about where am I going with this? No, I had a point with this.
Wesley had a point.
I had a point. Anyways, back on track with what I was saying. We're gonna watch all the Clone Wars, then we're gonna watch the 2D ones because those take like at the end of the second episode of it or whatever. It starts off with
It leads
episode
up
3,
right up
to episode 3.
Yeah.
Episode 3, then Solo. Well, no, let's see. It'd be
Bad Batch.
Bad Batch, Kenobi, Solo, which I feel like those can be interchangeable because it doesn't really
Rebels.
matter. Rebels, and then Rogue One.
Yep.
And then A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and then Return of the Jedi.
And
And
then
then
start off Mandalorian and Boba Fett.
Mandalorian, Boba Fett, and then we're done.
Yeah.
Nothing more to watch. Also, there's a new Disney Plus TV show called Resistance, and that takes place with the new cast and all that stuff. Is that supposed to be canonized too? Is that supposed to be their own version of?
Now, okay, that is a Filoni show.
I started watching it, and it seems very, very, very kiddish.
That's what I was about to say. It is a Filoni show, but I'm just like, I don't want to
associate with that.
I haven't cared because it is a very, very kiddie show, and I think it isn't Poe Dameron in it at all?
Poe Dameron's in it, yeah. Well, I watched half of not even half of the first part of the first episode because I wanted to see if it had anything important in it, and I got bored.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry,
And it's just like, I don't care about those characters.
Maybe I'll watch it when I have kids, and then I have a reason to have kid shows on. Although, in all honesty, I've made this comment before. I am excited to have kids for the aspect of being able to watch kid shows because I like watching kid shows. But if it's not entertaining to me, then how's it going to be entertaining to a kid?
But okay, yeah, I want to watch. I want to have kids so I can watch kid shows with them too. But like, I want to watch Phineas and Ferb with them, and Clone Wars, and Milo Murphy's Law.
That's the thing. It's like a lot of the kids shows that are on nowadays are not going to be the ones that they're going to be watching because, a lot of it is just because of what society's forcing on kids, which we're not going to talk about that.
Let's not get into
that.
But
also because of the fact that I have a lot of nostalgia for a lot of the old shows.
Yeah.
So we're going to really jump back on that real quick. Raising a kid is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Even funner than normal.
Funner?
It's a word. If everyone uses it, it's technically a word.
Okay, technically anything you say could be a word.
Technically anything I say is a word because I'm saying words.
But
it's not a dictionary word. There's a difference.
Fair enough.
Bada bing, bada boom, you lose.
Fair enough, yeah.
What's new with you? Ba-boom.
Is that how you want to end it?
That's how I'm going to end this. Because there's nothing new with me.
Okay, so...
Although I do need to go back and finish... Because I got halfway through the second episode of the Star Wars 2D version, and then I never finished it.
Oh, okay.
So I need to finish watching
Go ahead and finish that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. On to the outro.
But then I need to watch Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, but watch Gilligan's Island, yeah.
Maybe it's on Roku.
Maybe. On to the outro. Well, explorers, that's all the time we have for today.
We hope you enjoyed us talking about Gilligan's Island.
If you have any suggestions for future podcasts or feedback on this one, you can DM us on Instagram at DownTheRabbitTrailYT.
And join us next week on the Trailcast.
Peace.